Hi, good evening everyone. I am Mohit Jain. I am currently pursuing my PhD from the University of Washington, and I'm also working at IBM Research in India. Rama, one of my co-authors, is sitting there. And yeah, today I'll be talking about Convey. So Convey is an interactive window showing the context of the conversation that can be added to any messaging-based chatbot interface. So to begin with, what is a chatbot? So for our work, a chatbot is a text messaging-based conversational system, which may be powered by rules or sometimes artificial intelligence that a user interacts with via a chat interface. Okay, so the two things are conversational and chat interface. And the chatbot has received a lot of attention and saw exponential growth recently. So more than millions of chatbots have been created in different platforms, including Messenger, Slack, Kik, and the space has been growing rapidly. And there are reasons behind it. Okay, so I think one of the simplest reasons is that the user interface of chatbot is very intuitive. Whenever a user requests or responds or a bot responds, it automatically results in a message bubble. Okay, and the main benefit of persisting to such an interface is that it is highly flexible in nature. You can write anything that you want, and it is familiar to anyone who has used any kind of chat interface before. So there is no learning curve. In contrast, each website or app has its own interface, thus incurring a howsoever small learning curve. For example, a shopping website is very different from a banking website, and hence like you have to learn certain things, but a shopping bot versus a banking bot will still remain the same. However, there are some issues with the chatbot, and one of the major ones is that like the user interface of chatbot have not evolved much. So the interface that we see here is the same interface that is used for a human-human interaction over a messaging window, and similarly, but here in reality we are doing a human-machine interaction. So there are certain things which can make it better. So first I'll dive into a few user interface problems with the current chatbots, and then I'll propose my solution. So here we'll go with a dummy example. So let's say you are talking with a pizza ordering bot, and you ask that you want a margarita. So the bot will ask you what size are you looking for. You say medium, and you ask for do you want a Coke with it. You say yeah, sure. And then it try to finalize the order that it is a margarita pizza with Coke. And then let's say like you change your mind. It's like no more, like yeah, I want to have some vegetables over it. So maybe I'll go with a vegetarian pizza, and specifically you don't like bell peppers, so no bell peppers. But I think like this is a very confusing conversation for a chatbot, because you are changing your intent completely, and you're also asking for certain specific customization of the pizza, which the bot may or may not understand, and most likely it will just ask you that oops, let's start over, because it got all confused. So there are certain perils that we see here. The first one is that like because it's a text interface, you have to write a lot of things, which at times can become cumbersome, leading to very lengthy chatbot interaction. Also, the other thing is that like it is non-persistent in nature, because if you have a lengthy complex conversation, then certain parts of it will go out of the window, and then you will always be able to see that by scrolling up. However, that requires more interaction with the interface, and it adds to the goes against the usability of it. And like modifying the intent is always tricky with the current chatbots, and most of the time it ends in restarting of the conversation. And many of the chat interactions have a sort of ambiguity attached to it. For example, in this case, the bot assumed that you are looking for one pizza and didn't even ask you for it. So these bot assumptions are not known to the user. So combining all that and like taking an abstract little view on it, so the major problem that we see with the current bot is that there is a mismatch that exists between the chatbot state of understanding and the user perception of the chatbot understanding. So there is a difference in the mental model of the two, like of the chatbot and the user who is interacting with the chatbot. And this at times results in lengthy, complex conversation. And previous research has shown that users are usually apprehensive in using conversational systems for very complex tasks, and they limit their interaction to these bots to simple tasks like setting an alarm or a timer, or like putting a reminder on it. Okay, and moreover, certain of these chatbot assumptions that I talked about previously are not evident to the user. So this further worsens up the usability. So our solution is Convey. It is a short for context view. So what we do here is that we add a persistent dynamic window displaying the context of the conversation to the user. So by context, we mean two kinds of context: the inferred context, the context which the chatbot is inferring from the interaction with the user, and the assumed context. Okay, so both of these are shown to the user explicitly, and moreover, we allow intuitive interaction on the context value so that it can enable user to modify them in a simple and efficient manner. The most important thing is that the context of the convey gets updated as the conversation proceeds in real time. So thus always showing the latest understanding of the chatbot to the user. So, so before we show a demo of Convey, let us first try to understand this term context, which I have been using in from the last slide. So let's say again using a dummy example. So let's say the user is looking for a Hawaiian pizza. So there are two things which happen here. So for the chatbot, the context is that he's looking to order food. So that is one context. The other is that he's looking for specifically Hawaiian pizza. So those are the two things stored as context in the background of the chatbot. The bot asks anything else, the context remains the same, and the human replies that yeah, make that medium pizza and add a Coke. So here you can see that the interesting part is that without the propagation of the context, the medium size does not hold any value, and it wouldn't have got attached to the previous context, which is the Hawaiian pizza. So here it got attached, and so it's written as medium sized Hawaiian pizza there. So thus maintaining the appropriate context of the conversation is very crucial to a chatbot success. And just to complete the interaction, it confirms the order, and the user moves on. So now we'll go on and see a quick demo of the Convey system, and here we show a simplistic use case of a shoe shopping bot, where you actually go and buy a shoe for you. Okay. So let's see, I'm looking for a shoe here, so I type something here, show me shoes. So it will start showing me some kind of shoes here, and okay, so here the top portion is actually the Convey. So this thing in the purple box is Convey, and you can see here that certain things appear in gray, certain things in black. So this thing is that it automatically assumes that I am looking for male shoes, hence it shows that men, which is in gray color, which is a assumed context value, and also automatically assume that you are looking for a certain price range, which is from 300 rupees to 17,000 rupees. The values are in Indian rupees, hence they are very inflated compared to the US dollar. And you can see that the shoes, some of them appear here, and you can browse through the catalog of different shoes in that. Now each of these assumed or each of these context values which have a dotted line below them are interactive in nature. So you can click on the men, and you can see that the men and women comes as drop down menu. So you can select, let's say you select a woman here. So now you see that the woman appears in black here. So because you have already confirmed that context value to Convey. So in that case it is a inferred context now, so hence it is black in color, and the other ones are still assumed. So now a new assumed inference of a flats came here. So you can click on it and select some other value, or you can even get rid of it by clicking on the red button here. Okay, so each of the context value based on the kind of value it supports offers a different kind of interaction. So let's see, for example, in case of price value, you can see that it actually supports a price range slider here. So you can change the values. You can, let's say, you want a slightly expensive shoe, so you can do that. Oops. Okay, and now and as you can see here that this portion exactly wrote what kind of interaction you did, so that both the Convey and the messaging interface are in sync with each other. Let's say if you are looking for a particular color, so you say that so again the brown color appears here in with black font, and if you click on it you can see a color palette to actually choose a different color. Let's say you're looking for black, so it shows, and then you can do this to see black flats, and you can click on it to zoom into it, and then you can add it to the back if you like it. So that's actually ends the shopping experience. Okay, so to evaluate the usability of our To evaluate the usability of the Convey, we actually compared the Convey interface with a default interface. So here you can see that the default interface is the same as the Convey interface, but without the top Convey box attached to it. And the Convey is and both the default and the Convey has the same backend and the same kind of text-based intelligence associated with it. So we asked the participant to perform these tasks with each of the interface. So they were asked to actually either select a party footwear for themselves or select a sports footwear for their opposite gender. Okay, so and it was randomly given to each of the participants, and even the ordering was random. And the budget that was given to them was around $45 US. And as an intrinsic motivation to participate in the study properly and to actually select a good shoe, a kind of shoe that they actually want to buy, we gave them the reward was that one of the randomly selected participants will get the shoes that they have selected as a free gift. With respect to the participant, we have 16 participants. 5 of them were female and 11 of them were male, and the average population was around 33 years, and all of them were hired from a local IT company using snowball sampling. 14 of them were engineers, and 5 of them used messaging apps every hour of the day, and 5 of them have previous experience with chatbots. So what results we obtained? First of all, the participant took around 8 minutes to finalize, to select a particular shoe in each of the condition, and it was not statistically different from each other. With respect to the number of shoes before they actually made a choice, it was around 80 shoes that they actually flipped through the catalog before actually making a decision, and they zoomed into around 10 of them. So almost like zoomed into 10 of them to figure out whether they want to take it or not. And so in terms of the number of user messages that they gave, so in the default chatbot they wrote like around 10 messages, while with Convey they only wrote around 6 messages, and that was and like with the t-test it was found that it was statistically significant value there, so the p was less than 0.05. And similarly the number of words, like the length of the messages, was also higher with the default chatbot compared to the Convey. Finally, with Convey, on an average, every time the user interacted almost 8 times. So by that interaction, I mean like anything when they clicked in the Convey box and actually selected or like edited the value of a context value. With respect to the quantitative result, we asked them to fill up a NASA TLX scale form here, and we found that in particular for perceived success in performing the task and for potentially using it in future, we found that the p-value was less than 0.05, and hence like the Convey was preferred over the default chatbot. Interestingly, when we asked the participant to choose between the two interfaces, all of them unanimously liked Convey over the default chatbot. And some of the interesting reasons, or the funny ones, were that one of them said that just keep the GUI at the top, please, it helps. And the other one said that like the default interface felt like giving an exam, while the Convey-based interface was like a real shopping experience. And the major reasons behind it we listed down now. So one is that like participants found it easier to use and faster. It was easier to find particular products and also to narrow down products, and it also saves them a lot of typing effort, and also doesn't allow to provide false inputs. In particular, people also realize that there are a lot of context-based advantages of using the system. So the Convey can actually keep a track of what you have searched before. So it is sort of like an effective cumulative history that is given to the user. And it also acts as a guide, because you don't know how many colors are actually present in the catalog. So that is shown to the user. So it guides the user in a particular way. And also very efficient, because writing the whole thing that I'm looking for this price range is tricky. But using a price range selector is pretty easy for the user. Finally, this also leads to the providing like precise input. And with the current NLP capabilities, I think this is what is needed to make the chatbot more usable. In particular, people appreciated the deletion feature, because most of the current chatbot don't understand negation. So you can't say not black color, but here we can do that. So finally, I think to sum it up, the best comment was this: like it is what you see, what you get of chatbots. Finally, the use case that I showed you was just a shopping interface. There could be other chatbots which are feasible using the same Convey at the top. So here you can see that we have a news chatbot. Let's say you ask that show me news of hurricane. So it automatically populates the Convey box with the latest weather news of USA, where instead of latest you can click and get a calendar view to select a particular date. Instead of the weather, if you want like particular rain, precipitation, some other weather parameter, and instead of the USA you can even change the location. So that is one use case of Convey. The other use case could be a customer support based use case. So in this way, in this one, let's say you said that your Wi-Fi is not working, and so it automatically appears there that like you are using a Windows laptop and it's not working for the last 2 hours. Now the Windows can be changed to Mac or Linux, and similarly the laptop can be changed to smartphone or tablet, and the last 2 hours can be increased or decreased. So I think the main idea to take home is that like more things can be done by showing the context view to the user, and adding any like different kind of interactivity to it adds to the usability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit. Please, if you have some questions, as you come to the mic, please state your name and affiliation.
Hi, I'm Ray Deck from Cambridge. This is a great talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One of the things it seems like you're doing is you're bringing more traditional form-based input, more WIMP-based input to complement where the chatbot is. And what this got me thinking of is this getting you to a point where you have a better understanding of what the chatbot is good for, right? All the complements are basically, I don't have to use a chatbot for this anymore. I get to use the more straightforward and some older techniques. What were the parts where you were finding the chatbot, the messaging interface, that dialogue was more useful as complement to the WIMP interface?
Okay, yeah, good question. So I think the first part that you said is sort of true, that like it is a good hybrid between a form-based UI and the current chatbot. It allows you to like change a few parameters the same way as the form-based UI. But I think where we differ is that in a form-based UI, you get like a list of all the form elements. Here, based on the interaction that you are doing with the chatbot, a particular set of the form-based elements appear there, either the sum of the assumed one or some of the inferred ones, but not the whole list. Like in that shopping, there could be like 20 different things, like what material of shoes you are looking for, leather shoes versus cloth shoes, whether you're looking, or like other things could have been there. But here, only based on the kind of interaction you do, the things get automatically populated. So I think that's like sort of a beauty of it. And also like let's say if you're first time to the interface, so you don't want to go through like the list of 20 checkboxes, so you can just type here that I'm looking for pink colored shoes from this to this price range, and then you get that, and then you can quickly modify and get to the shoes that you are looking for. So I think we try to get like the best of both worlds, form based and the chatbot, and try to give something which is more usable than either of the two. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Yep.
Hi, I'm Julia Cambry from CMU. This is really, really interesting work.
Thank you.
I'm curious, so it looks like from what I could tell, this is used sort of in a local definition of context, like within the context of one particular use or session with the chatbot, and I'm curious whether you've thought about how it also can extend to sort of multiple sessions, so after you come back time after time, how does this come into play?
Good question. Yeah, you're right. Like right now, it is actually for each session. Like as I refresh the page, the history is not saved and it disappears, and then you are a new user. But let's say like if you have a login page, let's say if it is embedded with a messenger platform, then it has all the history of you and also has all the historical chat data. So that can be used to populate it. For example, like the very simplistic use case. So let's say using your profile data, it knows that whether you're a male or a female. So when you ask for like show me shoes, it should automatically based on the gender show you that kind of shoes. Or example, like the last time you actually bought a red color shoes, and now you're looking for particular like I don't know, bag. So maybe your bag should be the same color as your shoes. So it starts showing you automatically by default, starts showing you red color bags, and then like show you red in the assumed context, which you are more than like, yeah, it's easy for you to change it via the color palette. So obviously like, yeah, profile data, historical data, all of that can be used to make it like to make it more usable. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's thank Mohit again.